Welcome to SI Now. It's Thursday, December 21st, and we're continuing our look back at the past year in sports. We've already looked back at some of the great moments of the year, but for every W, there's an L. And here's our countdown listing the worst L's of 2017. At number 5, Ben McAdoo and the Giants, how the mighty have fallen. Well, maybe not Ben McAdoo. No one ever really considered him mighty. But the Giants, they did. A miserable season. They made Eli Manning cry.
Yeah, the Giants racked up plenty of L's, but the ultimate L was Ben McAdoo. This was a guy who became more and more arrogant as the losses piled up. He had the personality of a rock, and I'm sorry, in New York, it just wasn't going to fly. He butchered the Eli Manning benching situation, and rightfully John Mara said, adios after just a year and a half. Bye-bye, you big L, Ben McAdoo.
And remember, this is a team that went into the season with high expectations.
They thought this team was the favorite in the NFC East, right? Ahead of the Cowboys. The Eagles weren't even talked about, and they go 2-10 with McAdoo this season. That's why he's out the door. At number 4, it's Papa John. Yeah, the man behind the pizza who blamed poor sales on the NFL protests. And the ironic thing is the partnership between Papa John's and the NFL, and it revealed a little more under the onion, so to speak, as far as the Papa John books.
Yeah, this would have been my vote for biggest L, because their lack of business was revealed to the world, and everyone was clowning how their pizza tastes. I saw someone refer to it as tasting like a U-Haul seat cushion, and then the other pizza companies are trolling them online, Pizza Hut and Domino's, saying, hey, we haven't lost business. Why are you guys, making excuses?
Bottom line, more business, make your pizza taste a little bit better, right, Robin?
At number 3, LiAngelo and LeVar Ball for what happened in China. Of course, LiAngelo arrested for shoplifting and everything that ensued afterwards.
This would have been my number 1 off-the-field L because of how close this really became to being a serious situation. I mean, I don't know if these guys understood what could have happened if they were left over in China and put in prison. Instead, they get brought home after a few days in China, embarrassed. They have their press conference. They thank the president for helping, and then they've gone back on that, saying UCLA made them thank the president. This was a debacle, a PR nightmare. What was supposed to be a goodwill trip to China instead turned into a complete international mess.
Let me spin it positively. It's the holiday season.
Hopefully, spin this one positively, please.
LiAngelo has learned his lesson, and this makes him become a better person going forward, having held this L, and he eventually spins it into a W.
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't swipe any sunglasses in Lithuania while he's over there playing some ball. All right, number 2 comes in. It's Kevin Durant and his fake tweets. Remember, he used the fake Twitter account to defend himself against criticism, justify why he left Oklahoma City, took some shots at Billy Donovan, and he forgot to click that button that determines which account you're tweeting from, right?
This is a capital L for lame. Durant saves himself maybe from the top of the list because he had a great year on the court, but for someone who so many people have thought had rabbit ears, he really put them on display right here, and now forever will be clowned for this, at the same time as maybe not realizing where he is in the pecking order, and that, I think, is what bothers him, a little bit of that truth of the criticism of going to Golden State and never really being recognized as the best overall player in the league.
You'd hope a guy of his stature would be above this. I guess Durant's not there yet.
At the number 1 L spot, well, I mean the Falcons. If we're talking on the field L's, the Super Bowl, they blew a 28-3 lead, became a meme. You can't take a bigger loss than that.
Can you be a bigger L on the field of any sport than what we saw? 28-3 against the mighty Patriots and Tom Brady and Bill Belichick, and you just absolutely crumble. This close to winning the first Super Bowl in franchise history, and they went away from their game plan. They went away from everything that was successful in that first half, and ultimately they blow the game, they blow the title in overtime. Major capital L for the Falcons.
They saw 3-1 for the Warriors and said, we'll raise you 28-3. And it's the first thing I think of when I think of the Atlanta Falcons now.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in the history of Falcons lore forever and ever. All right, just to recap your 5 biggest L's of 2017. The Falcons Super Bowl, it comes in at number 1. Number 2, Kevin Durant and his fake tweets. Number 3, LiAngelo Ball swiping the shades in China. Number 4, Papa John and the NFL and his pizzas. And number 5, Ben McAdoo and the Giants debacle. And you know who knows about L's? That's the Mets and their long-suffering fans. Yeah, I can say it. I'm one of them, and so can comedian Jim Breuer.
I'm here now with comedian Jim Breuer. It was just announced a one-year residency at the Paramount in Huntington, New York, so big news there.
Yeah, no, it doesn't suck, I'll tell you that right now.
All right. Now, hopefully, this doesn't either. I want to get some of your half-baked ideas on some topics throughout the world of sports. Right. Let's start with the Mets. I know you're a Mets fan, and Mets fans were really puffing their chests out not too long ago.
We were cocky.
Yeah, thinking you were running the city. Now the Yankees dominating again. How do the Mets take the city back?
They need to be on the field. They need to be able to make this season. It's injuries. I've never seen a team go through so many injuries in my life. I mean, last year, like we got 9 starting pitchers, 10 starting pitchers. Before the season even started, there was 2. The whole staff was gone by opening day. They need to be healthy. They need to be healthy.
We were talking before we started rolling about fan psychology a little bit. And, I know some fans who are Knicks, Mets, and Jets fans, and that's a very tortured existence. Why is it that you think fandom requires people to be loyal more so than other entertainment products? Because if there's something you're not a fan of generally, you just like something else.
Yeah, like we said, if the pizza's horrible, I'm sorry. I know it's a neighborhood pizza. I'm going to start eating the Angelo's, which is around the corner.
Yeah, but you got to eat at Giovanni's. It's in the neighborhood.
He doesn't have a grandma pizza. I want a grandma pizza. This place stinks. I don't know why. Why do we torment ourselves if you're a Nets fan, a Jets fan? Or is it also a hatred for the other? I'm never buying into that team. I don't know.
I've met some Mets fans who I think root harder against the Yankees than they root for the Mets.
Yes, which is another bizarre thing. And I used to be that way. I would be first to see how much the Mets lost, and then I would turn and make sure the Yankees. So if the Yankees lost, I'm okay.
I'm good.
All right, then the day's all right. But I like this new Yankee team. They're pretty exciting. But I don't know. I'm not sold that the Mets are done.
I understand you're a Cowboys fan.
Yes.
But you also root for the Giants? Like, that would be breaking the rules a little bit, no?
For some. I grew up a diehard Cowboy fan, 70s TV, and then Lawrence Taylor made me love the Giants. So Phil Simms, all the way through this Giants team, I'm a Giants fan. So if you look at it, every time I was really into the Cowboys, the Giants weren't really in it. And every time the Giants were in it, the Cowboys really weren't in it. So it really works out fine for me.
Well, the Giants are hanging out with the Jets this year in irrelevancy. Well, they've been relevant. I mean, sort of comedic the way they did the Eli Manning deal. Made him cry. Now he's back in the lineup.
That was a little weird. that was a little weird. And what do you do now? We don't want you. So, no, come on back. We're kidding. Everything's fine. Come on in. Sit down. What do you want? Coffee? You want a little pizza? What do you want to do? What do you do if you're Eli? That's weird. That's a weird position to be in.
All right, some other stuff in the sports world. How should the media deal with LeVar Ball? What do you think of that?
Explain to me who that is.
LeVar Ball, father of...
the father of the guy.
Yeah. The dad.
The father,
Sports
the dad, the kid got arrested, blah, blah, blah. Why? Hey, listen, he's entertaining. So the more you feed that fire, the more he's going to be relevant. They're doing it on purpose because they know they're going to get a story out of him.
It shows that it's working, though, because you didn't know him by name, but as soon as I say sports dad,
I knew right away.
Bang, big baller brand.
And there you go. I know right away. I know exactly what you're talking about. It's the kid who got arrested, and he was in China, and him and Trump, something happened there, and
he's essentially a household name.
He pretty much.
There we go. Let's bring it back to the comedy. You got the one-year residency coming up at the Paramount in Huntington. Where's your pitch? What's your pitch?
It's basically stand-up comedy, which is easy for me. And then the next act is going to be a storytelling with a mood setting of music and lights. And then the end is a rock improv show interaction. It's the Wiggles for adults. You never been to AC/DC? Well, you didn't have to. I'm going to show you what it was like.
And you only got to go to Long Island.
You get to Long Island. No, you can come from Manhattan when the train stops in Huntington, and then there's a trolley that'll bring you right to the event. I mean, there's your personal limo.
Trolley. I mean, I don't know if I've ever ridden a trolley before.
Who needs a limo when you have a trolley?
Top 5 comedians ever. Who you got?
Ooh. Hands down, Richard Pryor, George Carlin are right off the bat. After that, Eddie Murphy. I'm going to put a Sam Kinison in there, perhaps a Chris Rock at number 5.
Chris Rock had the movie Top 5. There's Jim Breuer's Top 5. You can check him out at the Paramount in Huntington, New York. Appreciate the time. Holiday season coincides with bowl season, and that means the New Year's Six. I'm here with college football analyst Pete Mondo and Eric Single to go over 6 questions for the Big Six. We'll start with best matchup.
To me, it's USC, Ohio State. You get these 2 great blue blood programs. I know it's not a college football playoff game, but you get them in the Cotton Bowl. You have Sam Darnold, who's potentially going to be one of the top picks in the NFL draft if he comes out. On top of that, you get the last of J.T. Barrett, who feels like he's been in college now, Eric, for what's going on 10 years at this point. But I just think that those 2 coaches as well, Clay Helton going up against the great Urban Meyer, there's a lot of storylines in that game that also 2 teams that arguably should be in the college football playoffs. So I'm very intrigued by that matchup.
See, I think people are sort of focusing on USC, Ohio State and sleeping on the Fiesta Bowl, Washington versus Penn State.
But that's because most of them are asleep while those Washington games are going on,
True
in
enough.
fairness.
But you want to talk about talented coaches. James Franklin versus Chris Peterson is 2 guys that maybe are too under the radar for how successful they've made their programs. And I think the allure of some of these bowl games is the high-flying offense, but these are 2 of the best defenses in the country. Washington's was tops in most statistical categories for most of the year, and this is our last chance to see Saquon Barkley. So I think that's going to be a huge clash early on before we get to the USC-Ohio State matchup everyone's talking about.
How about the most entertaining game?
I am really, really excited for the Rose Bowl, Oklahoma versus Georgia. You get one of the most dynamic offenses in college football versus the defense that really gelled. It's a senior-laden Georgia defense that is sort of a culmination of what Kirby Smart is building there. And we get Baker Mayfield coming off the Heisman, coming off a well-publicized culmination of a long, winding college football career, and they meet in the greatest stadium in college football.
I'm going to go to the other side of the college football playoff and look at the 3rd straight year we're getting this game between Alabama and Clemson. I just think that's a lot of fun that we're going to see this game for a 3rd straight year. Even though I don't think Alabama should be in the playoff, I like that these 2 teams are playing once again, just from a storyline perspective. You know, of course, Deshaun Watson's not there, but it leads me to believe that Kelly Bryant is a guy who I think was a bit underrated throughout the season. Definitely. And I want to see these 2 quarterbacks, which one of them is going to have to win this game against very good defenses. They have 2 great defenses in this game. Which quarterback makes the play? Jalen Hurts hasn't been asked to do much this year. He's only completed at least 14 passes once this season. He did that 9 times last year. So seeing him having a chance to win this game for this team like he almost did last year in the national championship game is going to be fun to watch.
How about a player to watch? Who's the player to watch amongst these 6 bowl games?
I think Baker Mayfield's the guy I'm going to go to right off the bat. Not just the on-field ability, but the swagger, the antics, the charisma that has been built up over the legend that's become Baker Mayfield over the past couple of seasons in Norman. I just think that is the most watchable guy in this entire sport right now. He's the one guy that you can't take your eye off of. I'm fascinated by what Baker Mayfield could potentially do against not just Georgia, but then maybe Clemson or Alabama as well.
I'm going to go with the guy whose job it will be to chase Baker Mayfield around, Roquan Smith, the Georgia linebacker who has spent the past couple weeks racking up postseason honors. He is so fast, and a lot of people don't appreciate the linebacker position maybe as much as the quarterback that gets the Heisman Trophy hype. But he really does cover sideline to sideline for them, and that Georgia defense will have as good a chance as anyone on Oklahoma's schedule as making Mayfield uncomfortable.
Remember, too, though, I mean, there's no way that this Georgia defense has seen an offense close to Oklahoma. I mean, the SEC is not loaded with flourishing offenses right now. So that's going to be a fascinating storyline as well, just with this Oklahoma offensive line, not just Mayfield, but the offensive line, the skill position players. So he's going to have his hands full in that game.
And if the Bulldogs do have a defensive weakness, it's in the secondary. So
Yes.
if they can't get to him, they will pay for it.
Yes.
You know speed can surprise you out on the field, but what do you expect to be the biggest surprise amongst these bowl games?
I think Wisconsin-Miami in the Orange Bowl is going to be more fun than people think it is. Miami was put on the national stage against Clemson and then completely exposed as sort of a fraudulent team. Wisconsin was put on a national stage with their undefeated record against Ohio State, completely exposed. I think both of these quarterbacks are imperfect enough that we're going to see sort of a back and forth game, that there's going to be enough mistakes that we won't have the the slog that both of these teams were reduced to when they played the best teams in the country. I think together with the pressure off, could get some fireworks.
I'm just going to go with the surprising Group of 5 game, which is UCF against Auburn, because this feels a whole lot like Houston a couple of years ago against Florida State. I know that Tom Herman wasn't leaving Houston and Scott Frost is now leaving UCF, but it is a great offense in UCF, the best in the country in points, going up against one of the best defenses in the sport. And that's what's fascinating to me about this matchup in terms of having a great Group of 5 team that's motivated to beat an Auburn team against an Auburn team that might say, hey, you know, we should have been in the college football playoff. We came up short of our expectations and our goals. How motivated are they? I think that's always a really interesting storyline. Whichever Power 5 team draws the Group of 5 team in the New Year's Six game. And I think this matchup also on the field makes it that much more interesting.
All right, time to get your college football playoff pick. We going Oklahoma or Georgia?
I'm taking Oklahoma. I think in the end, despite Georgia's talent on defense, Baker Mayfield is too much. The running game is deeper than most people expect, and the defense has been big time in Oklahoma's biggest games of the year.
Eric's a smart guy. It's going to be the Oklahoma Sooners pretty convincingly as well. Baker Mayfield and the offense. The offensive line for the Sooners does not get enough credit. They are going to be able to hold off that front seven of Georgia and then create some problems in the secondary for the Bulldogs like we talked about earlier.
You love you some Baker Mayfield.
Oh, I love him. Absolutely love him.
All right. Who's your pick, Clemson or Alabama?
I'm going with Clemson. I just think that it's going to be a close game, but I believe that Clemson's the most tested team in college football this season. The best resume. Look at that non-conference win against Auburn. That looks so much better as the year went on. The defense as well is something that I think, you know, Alabama's seen good defenses, but this defensive line is as good as it gets for Clemson. And I don't trust Jalen Hurts. He hasn't had to do it yet this year to beat a team. So I'm going to go with Clemson, slightly better defense in what is a much lower scoring game than last year.
I know Pete doesn't think that they deserve to be in the playoff, but I do think Alabama deserves to be in the playoff, and I think they deserve to be in the national championship game. So I'm going to take Alabama in this one as well. Hurts certainly has not had to be perfect. So I think when called upon, similar to Kelly Bryant, didn't have a lot of tests, but both have been strong. So I think Hurts is reliable. The
other thing that we haven't talked about is the Alabama linebackers and how banged up those guys are. We don't know who's coming back, who's going to play. We saw that get exposed against Auburn, so that's could be a big problem for that team. Yeah, certainly. I think the having the month off until the matchup is going to help them a lot, and it'll give Nick Saban enough time to coach up whatever 5 stars and 4 stars behind them to fit in like interchangeable parts, as he so often does. There you have it, Pete Mondo, Eric Single, with your answers to the 6 biggest questions for the New Year's Six.
Hey, it's Corey Parson, the Fantasy Executive, with your SI Now Fantasy Football Update for Week 16. First of all, congratulations if you made it to the Fantasy Football Final. Let's get you some guys that you have to sit and some guys that you have to start. Let's start with the guys that you must get in your lineups in Week 16. Our first start is Steeler wide receiver Juju Smith-Schuster. The injury to Antonio Brown will leave a lot of targets for other pass catchers in Pittsburgh. Smith-Schuster will likely see the most targets of the wide receiver groups. Juju could see double-digit targets this week versus the Texans, who are ranked 29th versus opposing fantasy wideouts. Juju is a must-start this week and should put up wide receiver 1 numbers. Nick Foles. Nick Foles was magnificent in Week 15, and he gets another great matchup in Week 16. Foles stepped right in and scored 4 touchdowns. In Fantasy Championship weekend, Foles has a home matchup versus the Raiders, who are 24th in fantasy points against opposing quarterbacks. Dion Lewis. Dion Lewis is once again the flavor of the week in the Patriots' backfield. The injury to Rex Burkhead will not only allow Lewis to be on the field for more snaps, but Lewis should also get the work on the goal line that was going to Rex Burkhead. Do not leave Dion Lewis on the bench in your fantasy football Super Bowls. Now the guys you need to sit this week. Let's start with Jamal Williams. The return of Aaron Rodgers and a matchup versus the tough Panthers run defense left Jamal Williams owners wanting more in Week 15. If you were able to advance with Williams in your lineup, consider yourself lucky, but don't go back to him in Week 16. The Packers have a matchup versus a very stingy Minnesota Vikings run defense. Marshawn Lynch. Lynch has been good over the past month. He has scored touchdowns in 3 of his last 4 games. He is catching more passes and playing more snaps. But in Week 16 versus the Eagles on the road, Lynch cannot be trusted. The Eagles' defense has only allowed 7 rushing touchdowns this season. bench Lynch in your championship week. A.J. Green, the Bengals stink. You can't start any of their players in Week 16, including A.J. Green. Green hasn't put up a 100-yard receiving game since Week 10. The Bengals have waved the white flag. Don't let A.J. Green keep you from winning the fantasy football championship.
I'm joined now by the most decorated American athlete ever at the Winter Games, short track speed skater Apollo Ono, on behalf of Hershey's. Now, you've skated by some spills and pileups in your day. We're going to go through some winter bloopers.
Oh, nice.
And I want you to grade them on a scale of Apollo's Onos. You have 8 medals, in total. So on a scale of 1 to 8, how many oh no's each clip gets?
Okay. 8 being...
So many oh no's.
Okay.
Yeah, out of oh no's, almost.
The maximum.
The maximum oh no's allowed. All right, so let's do it. Let's go to the first clip, see what we got here.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Sliding dog? Well, I don't even know why this is an oh no. Let's see, it must be coming. This looks like a oh yeah to me.
This is barely a 2.
Yeah.
That's hilarious. He's having a blast. Oh, he's gaining speed.
All right, what's our second clip? Oh, this looks like it might be an oh no.
Oh. That's about a 7. Oh, he's fine.
What does his face tell you? How many oh no's?
He's maybe about a 6. But that looked like it could have been very dangerous.
It's never happened to me.
That will never happen to me.
I'm betting it will never. It would happen to me if I tried to do this. It just won't happen to me because
This guy looks fine. Look at his face, looks fine.
All right, so 6 oh no's for that one. And our final clip here. What do we got?
This is hilarious. Oh.
All right, what's going on here?
Oh,
Looks like he
lost
a skate.
He's gonna score.
Somebody lost a skate. Oh, that's an oh no.
Of course, his teammates. Of course.
So, I mean, ice is slippery. That's why they're wearing the skates. How many oh no's do you
He
give
just
this?
broke the blade right off.
Right off.
That's pretty strong. I still give that about a 6.
So those are Apollo's oh no's, and you are here on behalf of Hershey's as a brand ambassador. It says right on your shirt, Hershey's Gold. So I'm assuming you've tried the new Hershey's Gold flavor?
I have tried it. It's addictive in a very positive way, and it tastes like gold. It's fantastic, right? It's caramelized. I brought you a bar.
Not
here.
oh no.
Yes. Yeah, this is an oh yes.
What
What do you think?
That's good.
1 to 8. 8 being maximum flavor.
That's an 8. Hershey's Gold gets the gold medal. Pretzels, peanut butter, tasty.